back, LEGO builders and Minecrafters, to part 2 of building up Mumbo's Mosaic. So this is a part 2, so if you haven't seen part 1, you should go ahead and check that out first. So in front of you, you see all 16 of these massive black base plates that I need to build up the Mumbo Mosaic. Because in the last episode, I did in fact calculate it out, and I figured out that we needed a 4x4 of these 16 by 16 base plates, and that will result in us having a mosaic that is 4,096 studs large. And frankly, that's just absolutely massive, and it should look phenomenal. The only problem is I have to first complete the design in studio, because in the last episode, we only managed to get a small corner of it done. So let's go get it finished. Actually, I'm going to cut the time-lapse short here, as you're probably going to see the exact same thing twice. So with the design here, you can see it's coming along pretty well, but there was one major thing that I failed to recognize, and that thing is this button in the top corner here that says Mosaic. How am I so stupid? So under this mosaic option are various features for making all sorts of different styles of mosaics. So if we import our Mumbo Jumbo image here, you can see that it fairly easily processes it and puts it through its mosaic maker software machine or whatever. But as you can see, it doesn't actually turn out that well. There's a grayscale version, and most of them don't actually look that good. That's like a double smack in the face. I found the software to make it quote-unquote easier, but all the software can do is make these nightmarish images. But with that mosaic software, I was actually able to make this Fast and Fury Horse mosaic, which turned out fairly well, and obviously I did not make the original art. I think it was done by someone on Reddit. Hopefully I remember to put a link in the video. But I guess since the software didn't work out for Mumbo's face, we'll just head back over and continue on with my original design and plan.
One eternity later.
Here is the final design, and I probably won't be the first to admit this, it's not looking that good. So especially close up, it doesn't really make that much sense, and all these colors seem to jumble together a lot. But when you do zoom out further and further away, you can see that it makes a little bit more sense in that all of this kind of red and weird coloring around Mumbo's eyes is more of like shading, because in the photo his eyes are really shaded, so it is kind of a weird mosaic there. And also, another thing that's not quite doing it justice here is that most of the colors, like the red that you see in a lot of this mosaic, is not quite right. So this is how it looks here on Studio, but in real life, it actually looks like this. So it is a much darker red, but still, I don't think it's going to turn out that good. And just in case you guys would like to see a rendered version, here it is, and it really isn't looking that much better. And again, I don't think most of these colors really line up quite the way they're supposed to, but I can agree that this does not look the best. It's the next day, and I've been thinking about this quite a bit, and I think I've come up with a fairly viable option that should look quite cool. So basically, what I'm planning on doing is taking the mosaic outline here, so none of Mumbo's actual face here, but just taking the outline, so we'll keep in his shoulders and all of this kind of trees they're supposed to be, and all of this white background here. And we're going to replace everything that you see that is face with Mumbo's logo. So I'll slap a picture right on top there. So what I want to do is basically replace Mumbo's face with that coral Lego color, and then put Mumbo's famous like eyes and mustache logo. And then we can also add in a few other designs with those blue and dark pink stripes, and I think that should actually look quite cool. And besides, I already have a bunch of these coral parts, so that should work out quite well. And so here we have what I hope is the completed design, and I have to say it's looking much, much better than our previous actual Mumbo Mosaic, which was in fact looking a little bit creepy. If I pull up the photo here, you guys can see that it was not looking that good. I think this design is a lot better and basically takes out any of that creep factor that we had before, and it's also kind of a artistic choice because it's taking kind of different aspects of Mumbo. Obviously, we still have part of his actual picture still around on the border there, but then I have incorporated his famous mustache as well as some of those famous colors that he has in his YouTube logo or the top of the page, whatever it's called. And so there's the rendered version of the original one, and here is the rendered version of the new one. The only qualm I have with it is that it's a little bit kind of weird. Like, I'm not sure. It's a little strange that we have a like Mumbo logo on his face, but I think it's a lot better than what we had before. So I'm gonna go ahead and start inventorying those parts. This is what it looked like at the start of the video, and this is what it looks like now. So it has been quite a long time since the last clip, and these Bricklink orders have definitely taken their time to arrive. But I do have a couple here, and this should be the majority of the parts. I do have like a few more small orders coming, but we should be able to complete like 80% of the mosaic with these parts alone. So of course, we'll start off with the smaller one here. And inside is obviously just some plates, but they are just, you know, kind of randomly colored, or what would seemingly be random. So we have that light blue, and some larger light blue plates, dark red, and just the assortment of kind of random, weird Lego colors. So that's the smaller Bricklink order here. And the larger one, which actually came from Taiwan, so that's actually a fairly large distance away to come from. We have what is, I presume, a lot more parts than in the other one. It is always nice when Bricklink sellers add a little thank you and that. So once again, it is just really a mashup of colors. There's a lot of those pinks, dark pink and blue in here. We have a little bit more blue and what looks like turquoise and purple. And actually, this is fairly well packed. He managed to squeeze in quite a few parts into here. But there you can see we have our bigger white plates and our bigger dark pink there. And really, all of this is just a assortment of colors, except for obviously the black border that I'm planning to put around this mosaic. So we've got all the parts. Let's get to building. But halfway through, I decided it would be much more fun to do a stop motion. While the stop motion looked good, it was taking too much time. So now you guys get this lazy stop motion instead. And after a few hours of work, it is complete. And you know, to be frankly honest, I'd be quite happy if I never have to place a coral brick ever again. And before you triggered people start yelling at me in the comments, and that obviously this is not complete as there are a couple of holes left, but for the most part this thing is entirely done, and those holes only exist because I'm waiting for a couple more parts that are coming in the mail, and I was much too impatient to wait for those, and I just wanted to build up this thing. And so if you guys want to get a sense of scale, there is a Mumbo Jumbo minifigure on top of the Mumbo Jumbo face. So as you can see, this entire thing is is quite massive. It is also quite heavy as well, and I was a little bit worried that it wasn't going to be able to hold up its own weight. But after some very unofficial tests, I discovered that this thing is actually fairly solid. And now, a couple of things that I'd like to change in hindsight, which I'm not going to do now because I just want to get this video out to you guys, is first off, I got way too many of these coral plates. Like, I now just have an exorbitant amount. I can use these, I guess, in builds, but that is quite ridiculous. And another thing is, I probably should have just done a 3x3 plate mosaic. This one is a 4x4, and therefore it is probably a little bit larger than it needs to be. But this is my very first try at anything like this, so it's good to get some ideas and figure out some things for myself. But overall, I think this mosaic is quite charming, and I think it looks absolutely fantastic. And to be completely honest, I am absolutely chuffed to bits. But I do think we can make some changes. So as we're waiting for these parts to come, I think that we can add maybe a little bit of a better border. So what I'm thinking is grabbing some of these extra coral parts and just attaching them to the side. And I hope that this should make kind of a cool pattern. I may do each of these studs kind of diagonally and skip every other one. I think that could look quite cool. So I'm going to try and do that while I wait for the final few parts. A few parts and a border installation later, the mosaic is now entirely done. And I have to say, I am incredibly happy with how this came out. I think it's much better that we chose to go with Mumbo's logo rather than his face, and yeah, I think this thing overall is kind of a cute kind of homage to Mumbo Jumbo. Not only is it his logo with his main colors on his channel, it also has a little bit of a homage to Season 6 and that Mumbo face that everyone used as wallpaper. Or sorry, that was Season 7. I'm getting my seasons all mixed up here. Now, I did install a little bit of a simple border, so it just adds, I think, a little bit of color to the outside and makes it look a little bit more finished off. Although, I suppose some would argue that putting a black border with just pure black would look better, but I don't know, I think adding that little bit of extra coral parts on the outside makes it look quite good. But then, microphone commit die. Also, I'm having too much fun with these black scenes.
Now, it's great and all that we have this mosaic completed, it looked nice on the wall, but I think you guys can see where I'm going with this, and it's probably in the video title as well. I want to send this Mumbo mosaic to the Mustache Man himself. So I have emailed Mumbo Jumbo, but to little avail. There was no response on that email, so I think I'm going to have to turn over to other communication services instead. So it was time to take a quick photo of this thing and post it to Twitter.
It has been a good couple of weeks since the last clip, and there has been no response whatsoever from the Mustache Man. So that means that this very video is the last hope for Mumbo Jumbo seeing this. So Mumbo, if you are watching this, then please let me know, because you could own this very mosaic. Or maybe you don't even want it. And in that case, this entire video has been a massive failure, and it's time to end. So thank you so much for watching, and with that said, Gigahertz Productions, out.